So we ingested the data last time. We ingested into this individual profile schema and also experience event schema. So now they combine because we have the common identity there, and it will combine and form profiles. So before that, I'd like to explain the topic of merge policies to you. So yeah, what AP is, it helps you gather the data from different places about your customers and put it together to understand each customer better, right? So merge policies are more like a rules that decide which information is most important and how it should be combined to make a complete picture of each customer. For example, if a customer interacts with your brand in different ways, like on your website and social media, and you'll have data about them in different places. So merge policies decide how to combine all the data into one view of the customer. When data from different places doesn't match up, if say one source says the customer is single, another source is saying customer is married, then the merge policy decides which information to use. Like for example, we are targeting a customer schema. We are targeting a customer data, a custom maybe for customer schema we have 2 to 3 data sets for the same customer, and data is coming from multiple tables. So one data is coming from website, one data is coming from point of sale, one data is coming from maybe the coupon data or loyalty data, whatever it is, but it was targeting same customer schema. So maybe we're just adding details for Vinod Kumar. For the same idea, we're just adding multiple different values in some cases, because maybe from one source we're getting some information about your date of birth, or maybe marital status, whatever. Maybe in some other source we're getting another information which is completely contrast. So while combining, before stitching to other profiles or other things, it should be take care of this, right? Which data set it should give preference, because it getting the different values, and which it should have preference, whether it take this one or that one. So that's how we create the rules in AEP. But in majority of scenarios, most of the implementations, we don't do anything in the merge policies. But few customers, few clients, they ask us, for example, data is coming from this data set, or data is coming on this time frame, just use it as a preference, use it as a priority, take that data into consideration. So by few scenarios, they'll ask us to do it, but majority of cases by default it is time based. But I'll explain you what exact methods. Like there are two types. One is dataset precedence, another one is timestamp ordered. Dataset precedence means you'll give the priorities or priority numbers to the dataset, like which means which source to trust more. For example, if one dataset is more reliable than another, you can say use that first. For example, you're getting data from online, you're getting data from point of sale, uh, and you want to make only the data coming from online as a priority instead of giving the this point of sale. Then you'll give this priority of this online as more than this. So that's called data set precedence, like giving priorities for each data set coming in. Another thing is timestamp ordered. Timestamp ordered, this means it uses the most recent data. If there's a conflict, you pick the information that is updated more recently. uh, it doesn't care about which data set it's coming in. It care about only the timestamp it was coming in. So by default, what happens in AP individual profile, whatever we're just working on, by default it is timestamp ordered. In the sense, what is the recent data that was ingested to the schema or a data set, irrespective of which data set coming in, whatever the recent one, if it's tagged to schema, whatever the updated one, it will take it. Or if you want to change the default one, you want to give the prioritize the things, like you want to give it to the data set priorities, you can able to do it. So that's how, before stitching with other profiles, before stitching with other data set profiles, first it will take care of this merge policies rules. But by default it is timestamp ordered, in the sense which is the most updated one, it will take it. Rest of the things, it will clear out from the data. For example, you have details coming from the website data, and again POS data, again website data. So it will take the latest website data as your information. It will clear out all the rest of the values that is previously there. But if you don't want this method, you want to change the method, you want to give priorities to the dataset at timestamp, you can able to do it by using this merge policies. Any questions here?
No, got it.
Yeah, and I'll try to open this. So these are the two schemas that we created. One is customer test, another is transaction test, and both have one identity, that is customer ID one, which we created last time. And we also ingested data into these things into data
Unable
sets.
to see the screen.
Oh, okay. So these are the two schemas we created last time. So one is the individual profile schema, another one is experience event schema, and both share common identity called customer ID one, which we generated, the cross device ID, which I told, which we heavily use. We created one, and we just added up here, and we created the respective data sets, ingested data into it. So whatever profiles that have matching, it should combine together. So before that, I want to explain you what are merge policies here. How I already explained you, but I'll tell you how to create it. For example, if you go to profiles, so it will give you the overview of profiles. Then it will give the browser, and we can able to see the each profile. I'll show you that. And in the same place, we can see something called merge policies here. So as you see, there are three merge policies that are already default. Okay. So default time based, that is for profile schema. Default time base for the segment definitions. I'll tell you what exactly segment definition, everything, and the next thing. But there are three things, and I would say these two are by default, and this is the custom created. So we can choose which we want to apply, and which we want to keep it as a default. You can see the default was added for this, so whatever that was ingesting by default, it will use this one. Or you want to change the default merge policy to this one, you can able to do it. But how to create merge policy is more like just creating here. Just click on create merge policy. So it will ask you the merge policy name and everything. You can give that. So it'll ask whether you want ID stitching or not. Here I don't want to create the ID stitching. We'll do it. Whether you want to make this as a default merge policy in your system, you can able to enable this toggle. This one is something called Adobe Target. So Adobe Target is one of the tool where we can able to target few customers based on their website data and IDs and all that stuff. That's complete another tool. But in order to get the Adobe information, AEP information into Adobe Target, we need to create one batch policy that is related to Edge. I'll tell you Edge segmentation and everything in next class while explaining the segmentation. But there's something called Edge segmentation. We have to do this. In order to get this, either we need to have one merge policy in our AEP system, which is related to Edge. So whenever you want to do some Adobe Target implementation, so you'll enable this. So that's it. So whenever you want to grab some data into Adobe Target, which we're never going to discuss about Adobe Target because that's completely another tool. But as I told you, right, Adobe sits in Adobe Cloud Space where we use multiple tools there. So similarly, there's a tool called Adobe Target. So if you want to use Adobe AAP information into that Adobe Target, you need to enable this. Sorry, this one is not related to Adobe Target and all that stuff. That's why I'm not doing anything here. So here I can give the dataset precedence and the timestamp order, whether my profile datasets. So whatever datasets that belong to individual profile, whether I want to keep it as a dataset precedence or timestamp order. In the sense, it will list out all the datasets that present in my system, whatever we just created in the sandbox. We can select each dataset. And here we can able to give the priority. For example, if data is coming into these 5 or 6 or 7 data sets, whatever it is, it will give the whatever you select one, it will automatically get the priority as one, as the highest priority. So if you want to change it, if you want to change the order, you want to give the different rankings, you can able to drag and drop it. You can able to change the positions. So it's more like whatever data sets that coming in first, it will give. For example, data is coming from both 2 and 3. That is not coming from the rest of the things. It will take the two as a priority. It will ingest only the second one or the third one because we are giving the data set precedence. It don't ingest all the data into it. It will ingest only data that had this low. That here 1, 2, 3 is ranking like highest priority things. So similarly, if the data is coming from all the data sets, it will take this one as priority. It will ingest only this one into the for this profile stitching. So this about data set precedence will give the priorities of each data set after ingesting data into data sets. So whatever have at the greatest priority, the better ranking. then it will ingest, it will take a priority and go for the profile stitching. And there's something called timestamp audit. Okay, there's something called timestamp audit, where the data was based on the latest updated one, so there is no change on that pattern. So any questions here in Match Policy?
No.
So like the majority of scenarios will be timestamp order. Similarly, so you can create one for experience event also. In the next part, you'll create one for experience event. You'll also tell them whether what exactly you want to keep it for. What to select that experience event also based on your implementation. If you want to select everything, do it. No problem. But if you select timestamp ordered for this, you can also select only timestamp ordered for this also, experience event also. So whatever we just selecting in the profile dataset, same will be applied to the experience event datasets, like the type, like either a datetime precedence or a dataset precedence, like timestamp or a data type. So if you select it similarly, then click on next. It will ask for a review, like it will display you what exactly everything happening. You can finish it to create this merge policies, and you can make it default while working on it, or you can enable it to the data sets you're just working on it. But yeah, as I told you, majority of scenarios it is a timestamp ordered. So whatever the updated data present there, it will take it as a profile. So the meaning is, for example, the data, right? Data we are just sending to data sets first, which are linking to schema, right? So those directly won't form as profiles. So whatever data set that present in data set was more like a data lake. Yeah, there's a two data sources, two storage things in the AEP. One is data lake, another one is called UPS. UPS is Unified Profile Service, you can call it, or United Profile Service. So what happens? Data first lands into this data lake. This data lake contains all the data that are coming from different data sets. It could be customer have multiple data sets, loyalty have multiple data. You don't stitch anything, as I told you previously. Data set contains the crude data, raw data, whatever you just ingested from the files, it will be there. So after that, based on these merge policies, based on the identities we provide, based on the common identities it is getting, it will stitch automatically, but based on the implementation we provided, based on the schemas we provided, whatever data present in this thing is, it will combine into different things. It will form the unified customer profiles. Those details will be stored in this server. There are two storage servers. One is data lake, another one is unified profile service. So this is contains the crude data. This contains the more refined data. And after ingesting into data lake, this match policies comes in. So it will tell us, for example, you have customer your details, like we know the age 26 or something, or maybe your marital status, your everything is there. And maybe some other data set is changing to 28, maybe your age is increased, that's not updated there, and maybe date of birth is changed and all that stuff. You want to ingest only this one into the profile, not this one, you can give priority, or if you, or timestamp order, then it will do all the stitching here based on a common identity with other data sets, other tables, other schemas. Then it will make it as a unified profiles of your single thing. So that's how it will combine things from different things. But by default, it will be timestamp order, no need to change it. But in rarest of rare scenarios, they'll also ask you, because few customers don't want to get always data, they want to give priorities to the different the sources they're getting in. So at that scenarios, we'll just use the data set precedence, but by default it is timestamp. So this about merge policies, how we create it. So any questions here? So coming to profiles, so we just ingested into it. We can able, if you click on overview, it will display all the profiles that is present. Like it will give you different dashboards, like how many profiles are generated, how many profiles are gone from the system. So how many profiles are combined, maybe it's taking some time, but in general it will display all the things, like how many overlaps happened, how many profiles are coming on which data set, and all that stuff. If you want to see this, it will give you clear picture. Like here you can see how these are combining. So these are combining by default time based, so whatever the latest, it's combining based on it. But if you want to change it, you can change it. So we have only one other than this default time base is Luma merge, which I showed you, which is a custom one. Similarly, how we are creating this is a custom one, but here I don't think anything is created based on it. But by default, yeah, by default this time, yeah, there are two identities coming as a thing. So whether based on which merge policy you are seeing these things, you can able to change it. So here there is something called browse. So here you can able to search for profiles. For example, you ingest data into data set, it's got ingested formed as profiles. So whether profiles are forming correctly or not, so you want to check how things are combining correctly or not, instead of searching everything. So it will give you the advantage of searching by ID, okay, by email or common identity you just had. So you can see whether it was stitching on it properly or something like that. So here I just use customer ID one, right? We just created only one namespace ID in our implementation, which is customer ID one. I'm just selecting it. And I just gave this ID as a customer ID in the data table while ingestion. So I'm just searching for it. So it will give you the profile which is already existing with this. When I click on this profile, here I doesn't add much details, but it will show you like it got my name, but I didn't added any address or something. That's why it's not showing anything. And as of now, it was have the linked identities. Only one identity is there. You can able to see something called view identity graph here. Like it will show you how this identity was stitched and how many other data sets that identity have common. For example, other than customer ID, it got email, loyalty ID, and all that stuff. How it got combined and everything, it will show you some graph. But here, as of now, there is only one ID, which is customer ID one. It was not showing the identity graphs, like how, because it contains only one identity in our profiles. It doesn't contain multiple identities. If it's there, it will show you the graph, like how many, what are the other identities we just had and all that stuff. So here there is something called attributes. So these are the profile attributes. As of now, it will profile attributes in the sense whatever we just created the schemas as an individual profile, whatever data we just ingested as an individual profile, those details will come here. As I told you, schema two types: individual profile and experience event. So whatever that belong to individual profile, it comes to this column. It will show your attributes. So here we're just having only one schema, that is customer schema. It had only customer ID and the loyalty details and first name. So I just have it. It got loyalty details, and I'm just adding it as tier and all that stuff. As of now, this is the thing. But if you have multiple data coming in, you have multiple individual profile schemas, those are combined together, it will display all the attributes that belong to it. Like whatever individual profile attributes that belong to the customer, it will be like 360 degrees view or something. So here there is something called events in the sense that is coming for experience event. So so experience event, I told you, right? Experience event will be considered as an timestamp events. So here I give the event type as this and timestamp as this. And this is the underscore ID. As I told you, right? Underscore ID should be different for each event. So only then those will combine as a different events. So here in my this particular profile, I have two different events that happens at a different time. So this happens at 2nd February 2024. This happens at May 9, 2024. So whatever timestamp we just provide, if you click on view all, it contains all the details at present in particular event. So these are the transaction schema we created. Here I just had these values. Yeah, Vinod. When you're asking something.
No.
As I told, yeah, for this is the event. So as I told you, right, one customer can have this different same event on different time frames. So here we just having only one event that's happening at a different time frame. So these are the values that present. These are the attributes that present in the experience event schema we just created. So the only thing here is we need to take care of this underscore ID, which should be different. So for example, here underscore ID is A1. So here underscore ID is A3. As these two belong to different underscore IDs, that's why we are just showing as a two different events. If both contains A1 and A1, both contains A3 and A3, it will combine as a one single event. It doesn't show whatever ingested first, that will be shown. whatever ingested later, it will be not, it will be skipped. As I told you, underscore edit timestamp is always fixed. Like for each event, we cannot update the things, or we cannot delete the things, or we cannot have the different values for the same underscore id we're just having. So that's how the profile will be combined after adding to data sets, and it will give 360 degrees information. Like I'll show you another profile, maybe that contains more data. I hope so. If his profile is not there belong to it, it'll say something like this: no profile is found. But it doesn't contain it. So for example, is the profile which contains much more information of the profile than we show. It contains the first name, last name, it contains address, contains street and everything. You can able to see it contains customer ID and email both. As I told you, we can have multiple identities based. It's fish based. It's just the things based on this. We can able to see, click on view identity graph for this. So it will give you some identity graph. Like it contains only two, that's why it should show. If it's three or get data coming from multiple things, it will show you. So it will tell you email and customer ID was stitched. It is saying that it had common email that's coming from this data set. It's saying that email is coming from this data set, and customer ID is also coming from this data set, and it had different things. That's why it's combined together. It has a common thing when we're just doing it. That's why just combining it. If it's coming from multiple data sets also, it will show you multiple things. But based on the graph, we can identity graph, we can say how what data is coming from which source and how things are combined. So it will give you the clear explanation. Here it is very small thing, that's why it's just only showing two, but majority of scenarios it will say five or six. It'll give you the clear map from how to how it was identified. As I told you, right, maybe our table have maybe another table we just have email as an identity instead of customer ID. So it will combine this. It will create a graph that is combined from email instead of customer. Maybe from customer we just create another something. If you have multiple identities on that part, we'll combine it together. So it'll give you clear explanation from which thing to which thing it was combined. Maybe in few scenarios, few some mismatches happened. A combination of when behavior and profiles got ingested or collapsed in different way. Then if you want to identify how the profiles are coming in, how data is coming on different data sets, you can analyze this. You can open this identity graph. You can check how exactly the things are stitching up here. You can able to see each one. So any questions here?
No.
Yeah, that's how it forms. So in attributes, as I told you, it will give you all the attributes that belong to the individual profile. So it contains multiple attributes. These are coming from multiple schemas. Similarly with the events, it contains multiple events: message tracking, message feedback, same message feedback, but happens on different times. You can see the time frames here, and you can see underscore ID here. Underscore ID will keep on changing. And whatever data we ingested into this particular data set, right, we can able to see, go to data set and see them. For example, data got ingested, if it failed for some reason or it was successful. So whatever data set we just have, we can able to go there and test it, check that what exactly happening there, like what happened already or something. So for example, this is success, which we created for the customer data. So it will give you the clear graph and everything when it's success, when it's failed or something. So this one is related to customer test. I just ingested around and just the same data again to show you. So here first it was ingested first here. So it is saying that there is 13 records ingested. There's no failure, and there are no profile fragments existing ones. So that's why it is 0. So it will test for how many profile fragments are there, how many new profile fragments are there, how many existing, and then it will give you the clear thing here. If there's any failure, it will show you exactly here. So it will give you only we can able to see data for the 30 days here.
Okay, if you are searching for the data that's before 30 days, you cannot do here. There is another thing called query service, which I'll explain later. But as of now, in the dataset view, whenever we ingest something into it, whether it's success, it is failure, how many profiles are forming, and all those details, right? All the batches of data you just ingested of different batches of different IDs. So you can able to see them for over 30 days. After 30 days, you cannot see them here. Okay, there's a toggle. You can check for last 30 days. But if you give something before 30 days, you don't take it. You don't ask. They don't allow you to check for this. So you have to take care of these things. Okay, whenever you want to do something like this, this really comes into place. This help you whenever you are working on some real-time implementation. There's any failure happening, or you want to see how the ingestions are happening correctly or not. Those scenarios, it will help you. So there's something called preview data set here. So it will give you the whatever the data that present in your data set. Like it will just give you preview. It will give you just the glance. It won't give you the entire data you just ingested, and it contains only the latest batch data. For example, so latest batch data, instead of 13, it contains only one. Like after 13, we just 14 records, maybe 20,000 records. After that, we'll ingest only one record. So whatever we ingest the latest, right, it will give you preview of that. It won't give the preview of entire data set we just had. So here, this is the latest thing, as you can see here. So it will give you the preview of those 13 records. Like it just a glance. It doesn't mean that dataset contains only that data. It just gives you some 10-20 records by default. So you can see these are saying this is the data that got ingested. So you want to check particular thing, how the values are coming in and all that stuff. You can able to search that thing. Here I just have only first name details. Or you want to see entire thing together, so you can able to see how exactly it's coming. So this how it will show you what is the latest just a data preview of latest ingest data you want to see, and able to click on the preview data set. So this is about match policies, profiles, and things. So any questions here till now?
No.
So here we just discussed about overview, browse, and batch policies. Computer reports, I'll explain you later. That is something called union schema. So union schema is nothing but the union of schemas that present in your particular implementation. Like if you're having individual profile, how many schemas that are contributing to this particular individual profile, how many identities are stitched together for this, how many relationships are placed here. So as I told you, that relationship is nothing but whenever you don't want to stitch the things, you want to link the things with the non-people identifier, like a custom class. Those scenarios is considered as a relationship, which I showed you while creating the schemas. Like like there are two schemas. One is individual profile or experience event. Another one is custom classes. So instead of because custom classes thing can't it cannot combine to the profile, right? It don't come to the profile. So just you want to make a relationship, then you'll mark a relationship from this to that. Uh, um, Maybe I'll show you once again in case we missed. For example, we have this. So we have these two tables. One is transaction table. Another one is a product table. And we are marking this transaction table as an experience event table. This table as a custom class. So as I told you, custom class never participate in the profile stitching. It will help whenever it's required. Okay. And a transaction ID, transaction table has customer ID as an identity, because it want to combine with other customers and all that stuff. So it contains product ID as an identity. So it contains product ID here also. Here it contains all the information about the products, product name, and all that stuff. So here we doesn't have a common identity for stitch, and the product ID will be non-people identifier. As I told you, right? No, identities are different types: email, cross-device, non-people. We use cross-device majority of times. This non-people we use for custom classes. Non-people in the sense it's not belong to the profile. It doesn't uniquely identify a customer. It's just a piece of data lookup table that is that is related to non-customers, and if you want to combine it, you can do it based on relationship. Then we'll add a relationship from this to this. For example, if a product XY1, whatever it is coming here, and the same thing is already there here, like it's more like a database, like a lookup, we'll mark a relationship here. So whenever this is required, we can grab the details of this particular product from this schema, from this data set into here. I'll explain you clearly in the segments how we use it, but it's more like you don't combine, but whenever it's required, you can able to grab this data from here to here. So that's about relationships. Like
No,
whenever
no, no.
it's,
Can you repeat me on that?
yeah,
Like,
sure. So as I told you, that custom classes, these won't come for profile stitching.
yeah, correct.
These won't come for profiles. So
Yeah,
whatever the values present here, they act more like a lookup table, like a database. Whenever it's required, we can take those values, not into profile, but we can do something with this. We can able to create some logics. We can, for example, if you want to find few customers, or if you want to target few customers who bought this particular product, maybe the product belong to this particular category. Maybe you want to target customers who bought only cosmetic details, cosmetic products. Okay, so those scenarios, there is no details about whether it's a cosmetic product or not in the transaction schema or any other schemas you just have. It had details only in the product schema, which is a lookup
okay.
table, but it contains a common space called product IDs. Product ID contains in transaction also, here also, product ID also, like product table also. So, so whenever it's required, you can able to take those values. For example, simply I'll explain you the concept of segments now. Here, maybe next classes I'll explain you clearly, but here I'll just give you definition. Okay. So once profiles got formed and everything happens, so how a client want to target them, right? Like yeah, they want to target the customers with the offers, and maybe they want to target few customers with some personalized messages and everything. So they, before that, they want to divide the customers into different segments. Like for example, we know like some other things, so it's like some other things, like we know like something more related to the sports related thing. I maybe love more related to the technologies related thing. So the company, maybe Amazon, cannot give you technology related thing to you, right? It cannot give the offer because you're not using it anymore, you don't use it, so you'll use it based on your requirement you just have. So in order to target this, so there is a concept called audiences or segments. Previously, it used to call segments. Now it's considered as audiences. What it will do, we can create rules on our profiles, and we can segment them. Like we can divide them based on the common traits it have. For example, I want to target the customers whose gender is female, and whose age is less than 30, and who was purchasing this product category from last 30 days. Okay. I'm just I'll explain clearly on that part, but you're understanding this part, right? I want to divide the customers based on the requirement from the client, because I want to target them at different places differently. So while creating the segments, these values will be displayed there, because it had a relationship from this to here, right? From the transaction to the customer, it had some relationship. So these details will be come in the well create the product, the lookup table details will come at the building of this particular logic. For example, it's a product ID. I'll explain you with the schemas, maybe that will explain you in a better way. For example, there's something called Luma transaction schema that's related to transaction schema present in this particular thing. Okay. So here we have a relationship. This is the relationship column we just had. So it is having relationship from the SKU to Luma product schema. SKU in the sense the product ID, and Luma product schema had so we can able to edit this relationship and see. So we'll have one-to-one relationship to the Luma product schema with the product ID. Okay. So whatever the identity namespace we just had, it will stitch directly to it. So if you want to add more things, like if you want to add more relationships, you can able to do it. Like click on that attribute, there is something called add relationship, just click on it. So just may select whether it's one-to-one relationship or many-to-one, but by default it will be one-to-one. Based on the data, it will change to one-to-many also. Here says select the reference schema. So these are the reference schemas that present, which is belong to the custom classes. So select that, and it will automatically displays the ID that present here. And if it is correctly matching, then click on apply. Then it will make a relationship. So use of it is, as I'm saying, we cannot have all the product details into the transaction schema, because that is not we're targeting. That is not the comes into profile, because say different customer can buy the same product again and again. So we cannot target the customers based on it. So there is no need to add this one into the profile, because the profile is such a big process. So these are lookup tables. Lookup tables in the sense, these are the databases which was not belong to anything. But if you want to take them into consideration whenever it's required, you can take them. So those scenarios, we add this relationship. So SKU is nothing but a product ID in majority of marketing language, SKU or product ID, whatever it call it. So whenever there's a match between these two, for example, I bought a product. I created all this schema. The data got ingested into this thing about the product ID and all the other details, like what is it, when it happened, what is the ID, and all the quantity and all that stuff. But it doesn't contain much details about the product, like what is exactly product structure, type, and everything. So here, that won't come at the event space. But if you want to create a segment in the sense you want to create the audience, who just having this product ID or product name or product something, then you can able to create it based on this relationship. But it don't combine in the profile creation. These are just lookup tables. As I told you, right, whenever it's required, we can able to grab those values. But I'll explain you clearly in the audience creation. But this is a use of it. Like it don't come to the profiles, but when it's required while dividing, it's only required. It's only useful when we're creating segments. I'll explain you what are segments, but that's the use. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Or any confusion, or if you can ask me.
No, 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 got it.
Yeah. So that's what the relationships does. So in our union schema, whenever we create a class, it will give you all the entire. It will give you entire individual profile as a one single schema. It will show you all the schemas are present in this particular class. For example, here in our particular sandbox, we just have these many schemas that's related to individual profile. And these are the list of identities that present in the different things, like different individual profiles. We have different identities. We have customer ID, we have loyalty ID, we have address as an identity, and all those things. We have one relationship. So union schema is nothing but it will show you one clear picture, how many things are there, how many things are contributing in the profile stitching and all that stuff. So it will give you the different, for this, what is a lookup, for lookup class, how many things are there in your things. There's only one lookup table called Luma product schema that was the union schema is nothing but what are the schemas that are combining in the profile stitching, or what is considering. So this one had a relationship, that's why it is considering as a lookup class. So it will give you for each class how many schemas are there, and all the things you can able to see in one place. Okay, that's called union schema. Union schema is nothing but the union of all the schemas at present for the particular class. You can able to see that in the profiles. So that's about profiles. That's how we just data into data set, and it'll combine the things, and then it'll make a things there. But in this scenario also, I'll explain audience directly in order to avoid the confusion about the relationship and all that stuff. So once, as I told you, once data got ingested, once profiles are formed with all the stitching, we'll have the profiles to target. Like for example, you have thousands of data. You created schemas, data sets, and create contact identities and ingested data into it. And these 1,000 profiles had some duplicacy after adding into data set coming as profiles. So these things, thousands of profiles converted into some hundreds. Like 1,000 profiles are converted into 60 profiles now. Like those are only 60 profiles coming at different spaces, different names or different identities and all that stuff. Now those are combined using this MLA algorithms, and we have for 60 profiles we have all the information. And I showed you this profile information, right? How the profile will be visible. It contains all the information, like an email, how to target them,
Yeah,
email, everything. So now we have all the 360 degrees information about the customers. Now we can target it. But the problem with the targeting them is only one thing: we cannot have a same type of target mechanism for everyone. Like each one have different preferences, each one have different things. Maybe for example, we are targeting customers who bought this product in online in last 7 days or last 6 days. But we cannot send the same offer to the customer who never had the online account. They're purchasing everything offline. So targeting right customer, right time at the right offer is really, really important. That's why, based on the requirement from the client, we are just divide them into different customers, different segments, or different audiences based on the common logic they're just coming to, or common traits they're just handling. For example, yeah, maybe we have in loyalty, we have many things like platinum customers, gold customers. So we cannot offer same offer for both gold and platinum. So then what's the meaning of platinum and gold? So we want to divide them into different categories, right? Different things. So that's what is considered as an audiences. Audience is nothing but a group of people that share the common traits of things, or a common rule that coming under rule that was mentioned there. So we can target them based on our requirement. So when you go to audience, there is in the customers where there's a profile, there's audience too. So when everything is formed, all the profiles are stitched and everything, you can go to audiences and click on create audience. So it will tell you compose audience or build rule. Compose audience was launched only a couple of weeks back. I'll explain you this, but majority of scenarios we'll only use this build rule, okay, which we are using for years now. This one only started a couple of days back, the couple of weeks back, but this is the old one. This one we are using regular, we use regularly. So we'll click on build rule and we click on create. So build rule is nothing but we are creating rules to make audience to target to this particular make profiles to make qualify to this particular audience. So here we can create a logic like here. It will target the profiles. Like for example, I want to target customers whose gender is female and whose loyalty tier is platinum. Maybe yeah, I want to just target the female customers who belong to loyalty tier. Simple. Or like it's a simple logic, drag and drop logic thing. So if you want to make it does not equal exist, if it's if it's string, it will display, because while creating this schema attributes, right? We'll give them the data type, right? Whether it's belong to uh, number, whether it's belong to a string, whether it's belong to array and everything, right? So based on that, these values will come. So these two are strings. That's why I say access or this thing equals, does not equal, starts with particular thing, does not start with, ends with. So we create this logic based on our requirement. So here I don't want to target the gold. Rest of the things I want to target, I don't want to does not equal to platinum, or does not equal to gold. I don't want to or I want to target this particular customers. I want to so whoever just got loyalty tier, I want to target entire female customers of it. So here I can give logics. I can create logics. I can make it to or any of it, or I can make it to one, or so like this. Like anyway, for example, if I keep it or, so any one event happens, it will, that customer, that audience, that profile will be qualified for this particular audience. So I can have there is no limitation for this. You can add multiple logics. You can go keep on adding into them. Like for example, if you want to add age, so here maybe it doesn't have, it contains all the what do you call, all the attributes that belong to your individual profile. Okay, the new things don't happen if it's not there. So here the settings, what happens, it will display attributes that belong, that contains only data, that contains data. If it's not contains data, it doesn't show. Meaning, for example, you have customer table, it contains your first name, ID, last name, and age, and customer ID. In for few for any customer, there's first name and last name, but we are not ingesting age of it, right? That age is present in individual profile of a schema, but it doesn't contain any data into it. That's why it don't display here by default. But if you want to display that also, you want to create logic that also, maybe in future, if you ingest something into it, it should the audience or the profile will automatically qualified. Then you'll use this full XTM schema. Like, but if even though if it doesn't contain data, just show it, so you can create a logic on that, and it will tell you which merge policy you're targeting. So I told you, right, by default it will be time based. So, and we have another custom thing here called Luma merge. So based on that, you can able to select. Here I want to show entire full XTM schema, then I'll show it. So whether you want it. So here there is nothing called age, nothing. So it's okay. I'll add maybe some other thing, maybe program name equals to terrain or whatever. You want to make it case sensitive, you can do it. Like if it's only data is coming only caps, then take it. If it's small, take it all. This is a logic it contains. Okay, like it contains all the attributes that belong to individual profile. You can able to do it. It contains all the attributes are present to in experience event. So in the experience event, it will show you all what are the experience event that present here. That as I told you, there are two types, right? Individual profile and experience event. Those experience event attributes will be displayed here. So you can combine. For example, here I want to see event type. Uh, so event type as maybe anything, the advertising conversions. I want to see how on which timestamp it happens. So it will say at least one event. We can have multiple events, right? At least if there's a one event, we can able to target, or if there are multiple events, if you want to greater than 3, or anything is fine, or all should happen. So timestamp, whether it's last 7 days, last 8 days. So like that, we can able to create audiences by combining both attributes and events, or maybe only attributes or only events. Events in the sense the attributes that belong to experience event, attributes in the sense that are belong to individual profile. So we can create the logic, we can divide the customers based on that particular logic. So these are meaning audiences, audience in the sense the audience which we already created. For example, we already created that audience which had underage audience who have whose age is less than 18. We want to target them. We just created audience already for them. So if you want to add more logic into that particular audience, you can grab that audience here. So here, what happens, whatever logic we're just targeting, it will target entire profile system. But if you want to target only these things, like only you want to target only these customers, you can able to do it. So it will target only these customers. Or you want to exclude these customers. For example, it'll for all thing you want to exclude this. You don't want to include this audience. So whoever qualify for this particular thing, so you want to ignore these audience from this particular thing, then you will create this does not include. So this how we create different logics based on the requirement. uh, Here you can see by words how these logics are formed. So it will say that include at least for these attributes is events. Like it'll combine everything, and based on if we click on save, so profiles or whatever that are qualified for this comes under this logic will qualify automatically for these audiences. So that's how we divide the things based on the requirement. I know it's a little clumsy, but you got the point, right? What exactly the audiences are.
Yeah, got it.
So here, yeah, here, as I told, profile combination is more like attributes and events, like experience event, individual profile. But here we can use the lookup tables also if we have a relationship. Okay, for example, here I want to target customers whose product categories belong to cosmetics, or maybe technology, or maybe some other thing. But here, both in attributes and events, I doesn't have details about the product categories and all that stuff because it's a lookup table, right? So, but we already have a relationship from experience event to that product schema, which is thing. So here we can go to that particular. So those details will display here. Whatever related to product, maybe whatever related to lookup will be displayed here. Because though it's not a part of profile, we have a relationship here. It don't display on profile level, but we can able to create logic based on them. For example, this product, maybe it's a product ID. So here we can add them. Product ID was we target some particular product ID. We can able to add it up here, or we can able to create some product categories. We just have what exactly the category name. The details are not related to any individual profile experience even, but these are relationships. Like we can add logics for them. So this is where we use it, the relationships whenever it's required. I told you that whenever it's required, grab the data, we can able to use those attributes. So this is the audience, the place where we can able to use that individual, that lookup tables also, like to create the logics. Because like we can use them, but these things won't combine the profiles. Like for example, if your product category name is cosmetics, those details is not there in the profile, but these details are there in lookup table, which is related to this transaction schema. Then you can able to divide those customers, like target those customers by giving these values here. So we can use them for targeting, if you have a relationship, but we cannot, it won't show at the profile level because those are lookup details. So you got the point, or any confusion here?
You got it.
So yeah, that's the difference for the lookup. That's the use of relationships, because making them to create profiles, it's a very big process. Because profiles is nothing but condensed registered information based on identities we stitch. Based on product ID we cannot stitch, because product ID have different customers can have same product ID. That's why we'll use lookup tables when it's required. So whenever you got this AP implementation and all that stuff, so you must be take care about how things are implemented, what can be lookup and what can be relationships and all that stuff. But you need to take care of these things. You can have only 5 relationships in entire sandbox in your entire implementation. I'm not talking about one schema, all the schemas together by combined. You can have only 5 relationships. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Like if you have 5 relationships used in one particular schema, you cannot use any other relationship in any other schema. Just in total count, in total they give only 5. That's it. But majority of scenarios only use 1 or 2, but yeah, you can use only 5 at max. So once you create it, and you'll get description, you can able to save it. Then the profiles automatically stitched to this particular, the qualify with this particular segment we just created, or audience we just created. But there is something called evaluation method here. It's nothing but evaluating the segment. Evaluating segment in the sense, for example, Vinod, I just created, I want to target you. I want to target few set of customers who is male and whose age is less than 30, and who last purchased in last 7 days or last 1 month. Okay, I want to target them. But while targeting you, in the meantime, if you purchased anything in last 1 hour, you get purchased, but there is no need to target you again, right? But because you doesn't belong to this particular audience, you already purchased something, but in my system it will still show you're qualified for it, right? Like any question here what I'm trying to say, or you understand, right?
No.
So for example, I want to target one customer. Maybe we know that I want to target, like if not, I want to
Yeah.
set off. So I want to target set of audience who never purchased anything in last 1 year. Okay. Maybe you have an Amazon account. I'm an Amazon client. I want to target you with Amazon product which you really like, but you never purchased anything in last 1 year. You're just showing up and you're just looking to the cart and you're not never purchased anything. I want to target you with some offer and with something. Okay, but that's why I create some segment for you, like like maybe male, we belong to platinum, but last purchase thing is less than 1 year, something like that. Then I save it. Then you'll be qualified this for this particular audience, right? But when I saved it, in the meantime, for example, even after creating audience, even before targeting, you purchase something into the Amazon. Okay, then you doesn't belong to this particular audience, right? Because you already did something, but based on logic, your profile is qualified for it, but you're no more qualified because you already did something other than my logic I just prepared, right?
Yeah.
So I cannot target you. Like I cannot say that your last purchase is not 1 year or something, because you already purchased it meanwhile. So the segment audience count will keep on changing based on the logic we just mentioned, because we are just working on a marketing space. A customer can do anything, because the customer, maybe we are targeting only platinum customers, maybe because of your less loyalty points, you automatically converted from gold to silver, and I'm targeting you as a gold. That won't work, because profile information is keep on changing. So we want to evaluate in the sense we want to validate it, whether this particular audience still belongs to this particular logic or not. This particular profile which qualified previously, it still belong to this audience or not. If there's anything, so if you're still not belong to this particular audience, I can eliminate you for this audience, right? Because you know more part of this audience, so there's no need to retarget you or target you again. So that validating itself is called as segment evaluation, like evaluating the count of audience, whether there are new audience coming in. For example, maybe there are new audience coming in. Maybe there are old audience who never belong to this the particular logic. So these things are keep on changing, right? So based on the things we just have, so that's called evaluation, like evaluating the segment by itself, the count based on the logic we just have. So these are different types. One is batch, one is streaming, one is edge. Okay, batch is nothing but it can a batch is nothing. We evaluate only 24 hours. So for example, if you created a segment now, so after 24 hours, it evaluate. So whoever customers coming in between, it don't care. Okay. So it will evaluate only once in entire life, entire day. So whoever customers coming in, it will take this as new customers. Whoever customers going out of the segment, it will take them as exiting customers. So all that stuff. So, but it happens only once in a day. Evaluate the segment by itself once in a day. It's called batch segment. Any questions here?
No.
So in our organization, right? Whatever organization you just have the sandbox and anything, by default there will be one time where the segment will be evaluated. So you can change that time whenever it's required, but batch segments evaluate only at that time in a day. After that, you don't do. Okay. If something happens after that time, so it will only evaluate by itself next day. You don't evaluate at that time. That's a batch type of evaluation. There's something called streaming. Streaming happens at the real time. Okay, like there is something happen, if you did card abandonment, then automatically the segment will be evaluated. For example, we are targeting customers whose card abandoned value is 1. Like there's something something there in the card, but they're never purchasing. But you did it now after creating things 7:58. I created this segment. 8 o'clock you just made that thing. Okay, then you'll be automatically qualified for that, more like a real time. Okay.
Okay.
It's called streaming. It happens at the streaming data we're just doing. And there's something called edge. So edge data is nothing but on-page personalization or in-page personalization. We don't use it much regularly. We use only batch and streaming. Edge is nothing but on-page personalization in the sense you've been to one website, you clicked on something. Based on your click, your footer image or the image is changing. It's more like personalization happening in the page level on the website data. Uh, so those information will be evaluation is considered as an edge evaluation, like on page personalization or next page personalization. So if you click on something, those details will come in real time decks, and that'll change something on your screen on the website data. It's called edge, but we don't use it much. But in general, that's a difference. But there's no much difference within the streaming and edge. Edge is nothing but edge is also the real time data, streaming data, but it used for the on page personalization, like whatever the page you're just doing at the time you want to add some personalization based on the audience, then it will be edge. But the problem here is whatever we don't have option to select our evaluation method. Okay, like for example, I want to make it streaming because I don't want to keep it anything as a batch. No, I want everything in a real time, right? So I don't want to keep anything as a batch. I'll select streaming and I'll save it. But whether it's streaming, whether it's batch, whether it's edge, based on the attributes we are using, based on the logic we just mentioned, this AEP system automatically take that evaluation method. If it's belong to, so there is no need to select this evaluation method while creating it. So while saving, whether it belong to batch, it will make it as a batch. Whether it belong to streaming, it'll automatically make it as streaming based on the logic it had, based on the schemas we just mentioned and all that stuff. Okay. So if it's batch segment, if you are keeping a streaming, if you save it, it don't save. It will say it's batch segment. We cannot make it as streaming. So here we don't have any hand into it. So whether it's batch streaming or edge, based on the logic we provided, or this AEP will take automatically whatever the evaluation it belongs. Okay. So once it got saved, we can able to see the list of audiences, something like here. So it will give you whether it's a batch, what's the frequency of evaluation, it's a batch or streaming or edge. It will display based on the requirement. It will give you the profile count. What is the profile count? There's a testing sandbox doesn't have much. For here, you can see a 503 profiles are qualified for this, and all those things here. So it will explain you the clearly what exactly the things are. Yeah, then I'll explain you things later, but about the audiences in deep tomorrow. But here, what is exactly the overview of audience features have, and how we create audience, what are the types of audiences, like evaluation types. But these are not by default, it will be automatically created based on the logic we just mentioned. So these are about the initial understanding about audiences or segments. So any questions here so far?